about it? For the great astronomer. He is the Neil deGrasse Tyson of this show and of the Bay Area, the longtime professor of astronomy, Professor Andrew Fraknoi, everyone. Yes. Look at you. Happy, distinct from all the madness. I love it.
Well, and sometimes I read the newspaper and I want to be on Mars rather than this planet. So I hear you.
I really got, interested again. I say, because I feel as though some things happen in the cosmos and we can see things in the night sky, and some things are extraordinary that we can see in the night sky. And it gets me all of a sudden, again, focused on something that I can we take the night sky and everything for granted a little bit. And so here's the point. There was a comet, and I think this comet that comes through and becomes somewhat visible to us, it's like a once in 80,000 year type comet. Isn't that right, Professor Fraknoi?
That's right. It's a new comet that we hadn't seen before. We're still not sure exactly what its orbit is, but it's showing up right now in our evening sky. It's fainter now, so you have to know where to look, and we can talk about that. But it's a wonderful example of the leftovers from the formation of our solar system. When our family of planets and the sun formed, janitorial services were not particularly good. And so there was a lot of stuff left over, and the rocky stuff we call asteroids and the icy stuff we call comets. And because this is an icy leftover chunk, when it gets near the sun, the ice evaporates and makes a beautiful tail. And as you can see on the chyron below us, this comet has a name. It's called Tsuchinshan Atlas. Tsuchinshan is the observatory in China, and Atlas is the observatory in South Africa that jointly discovered this comet. And just to be able to refer to it, we call it 2023 A3, which is a lot easier to say.
Now, that view that we're seeing of the comet right now that is showing on screen, that's through a telescope, right?
Right. So you can't see anything like this with your naked eye. But if you are in a dark sky area and you can look after sunset, you'll see a bright object right after sunset in the lower part of the west-southwest sky. That's the planet Venus. And if you look above Venus, you will, particularly have binoculars, you'll be able to see a fuzzy object. And then if you take a long exposure photograph like this, you'll see that it has a long tail stretching upward in the way we see it now. And it's a beautiful chunk of cosmic ice left over from ancient days evaporating before your eyes.
So, Professor Fraknoi, one of your superpowers, I've always felt, was and is the ability to boil complicated stuff down, because there's a lot of physics and math and all this stuff when it comes to the cosmos and comes to astronomy. And so I only have you for a couple minutes, so try to make this as succinct as possible, if you can even do this. But tell me how scientists like yourself can somehow identify this comet, which again only comes through every 80,000 years, and anticipate its arrival. I mean, it's not like you saw the last one and then somehow could extrapolate. I don't understand the math that goes into this analysis that you guys do that can actually predict when these things happen.
Well, for once, your compliments are not deserved, although we appreciate them. We had no idea this comet was coming. We were surprised. This is a discovery of something brand new that we hadn't seen before. 80,000 years ago, when it came through the last time, there wasn't anybody having podcasts or keeping even written records. So this was a complete surprise.
Well, then let me go back then. Excuse me for interrupting, Professor, but let me ask you, then how do we know this comet came through 80,000 years ago?
And I want to emphasize that the 80,000 is still not a definite figure. Could be longer, could be shorter. But what we can observe is its orbit, how it's moving.
I see.
When you know how it's moving around the sun, you can extrapolate it to see how it moves around further out. And that tells you the orbit, and then we can figure out how long it takes at that distance to go around the sun. So our best guess right now is 80,000 years.
So in my apocalyptic movie-oriented scenario and narratives, could there be a similar comet, Professor Fraknoi, that tumbles toward Earth and surprises us and could be our undoing as a species?
Well, it's certainly possible. An asteroid is much more likely to be on an orbit that is directly aimed at us.
And why is that?
Because the asteroids are much closer in, and there's a whole bunch of them that are actually just flying randomly around the solar system, whereas most of the comets are further out and are therefore less likely to come into the inner neighborhood where we live. But let me just say, because it flashed below us for a moment, if people want to have a kind of map of the sky to know where to point their binoculars to see this comet, I put a map in my blog. So I have a website, fraknoi.com. You don't need to write down this whole long address. Just go to fraknoi.com, Fraknoi, and there click on the menu choice for the blog, and there you will see this beautiful map. Thank you so much for showing it. And that shows you for each date in October just where in the sky to point your binoculars in the west-southwest to see the comet tonight. And if you can't do it, or if you don't have binoculars or dark skies, just Google Comet 223A3, and all over the web there are gorgeous images, beautiful images people have taken with big telescopes and small telescopes, and it's worth looking for. It's really quite a nice sight with its long tail.
But let's get back to my end of the world scenario, please, Professor. In our last moment, you're saying that it is possible that an asteroid, which wasn't picked up on your general scope of attention, it's possible that just as this comet surprised, an asteroid could surprise, and it could be the end of things.
It could be, but I'm happy to tell you that astronomers around the world are working to actually find and catalog all the asteroids that come near the Earth. We think we're 90% done with the catalog of those that could hurt the entire planet, the big ones. So 90% is not as good as 100%, but we're making progress. So you have a team of astronomers trying to prevent your scenario.
Randy's asking, what is Mark's obsession with an end-of-the-world comet or an end-of-the-world asteroid event? Well, my obsession is that because the comet was a surprise, I just thought I would ask. Yeah. I resent that my audience somehow doesn't understand the seriousness of this.
Why are you yelling?
So
it's not just you. Astronomers are also concerned. We should tell your listeners that this is a #1 serious concern for astronomers. 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs, we think, were wiped out by just such an asteroid.
Thank you, Professor.
Follow in their wake.
Thank you, Professor. And Randy, take that. And the other thing I would say is, from what I recall from astronomy, I always loved astronomy, even though I'm only about an inch deep on it. The planet Jupiter, as I recall, was an important blocking mechanism for the Earth's evolution. In other words, many of the things that might have actually hit Earth and ruined or set back the evolution of this planet were actually blocked by the planet Jupiter because it's of immensity, right?
Right, you are well informed. The largest planet with the greatest gravity in the solar system is Jupiter. So its gravity acts a little bit like a vacuum cleaner, pulling in more things. And so we do think that we're a little bit safer because of Jupiter's effect of pulling those asteroids to it. And Jupiter is an all gas and liquid planet, so those asteroids just splash down and they don't hurt anything.
It's a remarkable thing. I think the night sky is just a wonderment of mystery, and we're seeing history, right? Because the light takes time to get to us. So literally, we're looking back millions of years.
And now with the James Webb Space Telescope, we're actually looking back billions of years. We're seeing some of the earliest stars and galaxies. And as you say, when the news on Earth gets you down, it's really a good thing to put your mind into a cosmic frame and think about and learn a little bit more about astronomy.
Professor, I want you to return, and next time you come back, I have questions about black holes, because I understand that there are differing opinions now about some of the science around black holes. But I want to table that for the next time. I also want to just encourage people, we put it up there again, to Professor Fraknoi's website. Again, it's fraknoi.com. It's a blog, it's a website, and you've done so much work. I love the fact that the OpenStax work that you've done makes the astronomy textbook free. And for those who have an interest in that and really want to get into a text, again, the lead author is Professor Andrew Fraknoi. You know how I feel about you. I love that you come and spend some time with us occasionally, and I look forward to the next time.
I do too. Thank you, Mark.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.